For centuries, there have been these whispers of a secret art, a powerful, hidden knowledge that promises the ultimate transformation. But we're not talking about turning metal into gold. We're talking about transforming the self. This is spiritual alchemy, and we're about to dive deep into its mysteries.
Right at the very heart of alchemy, you'll find this ancient principle. What does it mean? Well, it's the idea that the universe is basically a giant mirror. Everything happening on the cosmic scale, as above, is reflected inside of us, so below. And what's going on inside our minds and hearts, as within, is reflected in the world around us, so without. Grasping this one simple, powerful idea is the key to unlocking everything else we're going to talk about.
Now, let's be honest. When most of us hear the word alchemy, we picture some old wizard in a lab trying to turn lead into actual physical gold. And yeah, that's material alchemy. But the real mystics, the ones who truly understood the art, they were after something way, way more valuable. They were focused on spiritual alchemy. See, for them, the real work wasn't about changing metals. It was about transmuting your own inner lead, all your fears, your pain, your limitations, into the shining gold of true wisdom and enlightenment.
So this begs a really fascinating question, right? What if that legendary philosopher's stone, that ultimate treasure everyone was searching for? What if it wasn't some rock or magical object you had to find out there in the world? What if it was a power, a potential, that's been hidden inside of you this whole time? This incredible internal quest, this journey of self-transformation, actually has a name. The alchemists called it the magnum opus, which translates to the great work.
And make no mistake, the great work is not a passive thing that just happens to you. It's a conscious, intentional, deliberate journey. It's the art of taking the raw material of who you are, right now, and actively refining it, polishing it, moving from a place of limitation towards real, profound wisdom.
And lucky for us, the ancient alchemists left a map for this journey. It unfolds in 4 sacred stages. First, nigredo, the blackening. Then comes albedo, the whitening, followed by citrinitas, the yellowing, and finally, rubedo, the reddening. So let's break down this incredible process step by step.
Our journey begins. Well, it begins in the dark. Stage 1 is nigredo, a Latin word that means the blackening. This is often called the dark night of the soul, and for very good reason. It's usually the toughest, but also the most necessary part of the entire journey.
So what is nigredo? Really? It's a head-on confrontation with your shadow self. All the parts of you that you've ignored, denied, or repressed. It feels like a symbolic death, where your ego and all the illusions you've built around yourself start to crumble. You literally have to break down before you can be rebuilt. In our lives, this stage can show up as a major personal crisis. You're forced to look your deepest fears right in the eye, to face your ugliest weaknesses. It can honestly feel like your whole world is falling apart at the seams. But the alchemists knew this was absolutely essential. Just think about it. A seed has to be burned in the dark earth before it can sprout. In the same way, our spirit has to go down into this darkness before it can be reborn. But after all the chaos and darkness of nigredo, a new light begins to emerge. We now enter stage 2, albedo, which means the whitening. This is the phase of purification, where all the gunk and residue of the darkness finally gets washed away. You can think of albedo as the dawn after the longest, darkest night. It's a process of cleansing all the spiritual and psychological impurities that were dug up during nigredo. Its symbol is the bright, calm light of the moon, which represents that first glimmer of clarity and truth that you find once the noisy ego starts to quiet down. During albedo, the work really shifts inward. It's all about cultivating a sense of mental quiet and serenity, learning to detach from the powerful grip of those negative emotions. Through some really deep introspection, you start to gain genuine self-knowledge. And for maybe the first time ever, you begin to see the world as it really is, not through the cloudy, distorted lens of your old ego. Okay, so from the cool, reflective light of the moon, we start moving toward the warm, brilliant light of the sun. This is stage 3, citrinitas, or the yellowing. This is where the first true light of that inner gold really starts to shine. Citrinitas is that magical moment of spiritual dawn. It's when wisdom isn't something you're looking for outside yourself anymore, but a golden light that starts to shine from within. The whole point here is to unite the opposites inside you, to marry your logical, rational mind with your deep, profound intuition, to bring your spirit and your physical, material existence into harmony. And a court teaching of this phase is so important. True wisdom, real knowledge, it's not something you can just read in a book. It comes from a direct, personal, hands-on experience with your own inner divinity. It's the difference between looking at a map of a beautiful place and actually standing there, feeling the sun on your face.
And now we arrive at the culmination of the entire great work. The fourth and final stage, rubedo, the reddening. This is the moment of total rebirth, the completion of the alchemical masterpiece.
Rubedo is the ultimate transmutation. That heavy lead of your lower, fear-based self is now fully transformed into the pure, radiant gold of enlightened consciousness. The perfect symbol for this, it has to be the phoenix, right? That mythical bird that dies in a blaze of fire only to be reborn from its own ashes, more magnificent and powerful than ever.
So what does this state actually feel like? Well, in rubedo, the illusion that you are separate from everything else just dissolves. You have this profound experience of being a part of the whole. This is the sacred marriage of your human self and your divine essence. You stop seeking the light because you have a profound realization that you are the light. This is that state of consciousness that the great spiritual masters throughout history have talked about.
Okay, I know. This all sounds incredibly profound, maybe even a little abstract. But how does any of this apply to our actual day-to-day lives? This is where alchemy stops being a cool theory and becomes a living, breathing practice. So let's look at a practical toolkit you can actually use for your own journey.
Here's how we can translate these ancient stages into modern life. For nigredo, that tough stage of confrontation, we can use tools like journaling, therapy, or specific shadow work practices. For albedo, the purification, we can turn to things like meditation, mindfulness, or just spending quiet time in nature. For citrinitas, the illumination, we can study sacred texts, but more importantly, we apply that wisdom and use visualization. And for rubedo, integration, the work becomes about how we show up in the world, through service to others and through conscious, deliberate creation.
So, we've journeyed all the way from the darkness into the light, from lead to gold. But there is one final great secret, the secret that really holds this entire process together.
And here it is. This is the ultimate truth of the art. The alchemists were never really just after physical gold. The true treasure, the real gold they were dedicating their lives to find, was their own evolution, the complete transformation of their consciousness.
And this leads us to a really crucial point. The great work isn't some final destination. It's not a finish line you cross one day and say, okay, I'm done, I'm enlightened now. No, it's a continuous, beautiful, lifelong process of becoming, of constantly refining and expanding who you are with every single experience.
So, the ancient map has been revealed. The tools are right here in your hands. This isn't just some dusty historical curiosity. It is a living, breathing path to your highest possible potential. The only question left is the one the alchemists have been asking for centuries. Are you ready to begin your great work?